Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our Let's Talk Arsenal series. I'm joined today by Clive from the Arsenal Vision podcast. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
I'm good. How are you? You well?
Yeah, good, very good indeed. It's been a while. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, I sort of I listen to 70% of your shows. I feel like
Mm.
I see you every day nearly, didn't I?
Yeah, it's strange. When I speak to people that have obviously watched the show, it's a strange dynamic because obviously, like, you're in their living room every day, but I'm not actually seeing them. So they speak to you like they're seeing you every day, and it's a strange dynamic. But no, it's great, and I'm glad that you're tuning in. And the chat box is always welcome to see you dipping in there with some hot takes as usual. But what's better is to be able to get you on the show and have a chat as well. And our favourite topic, of course, is transfers. We love talking and watching and looking into the statistics of players and stuff, particularly watching clips and things like that. And you are, it's fair to say, privy to a YouTube compilation or two.
I do
Whenever we
like
link
them.
someone.
I think there is a skill to watching YouTube
Mm,
compilations. Honestly, you have to recognize little things, right? So when you're watching a player, see where the ball's, when the clip starts,
mm,
you don't see enough of the build up, right? You normally see it really, really late. And then you look at the league and you look at things like, I always look at things like how they're separating away from people, right? Are they
yeah.
really gapping people, right? They look at their technique and their shooting. So you look at things that are transferable. Do you see what I mean? And so everyone goes, "Oh, Clive, you shouldn't look at YouTube." I think, mate, I can look at anything you like. If you know what you're looking at, you just take it for what it is, right? And more than anything, you see a clip that maybe tells you what type of player that player is. And then the natural thing is, okay, how does he fit into Arsenal? Or how could he fit? Where's he pick the ball up? I see you do your stuff on heat maps,
Mm,
and I think they're really instructive. They are, because you can see where people play, where they really
yeah.
have impact, and you put it all together, you can get a picture. You can get a picture with all the caveats of league opponents. Sometimes, particularly in some of the leagues, I'm sure we're going to discuss it now.
Mm,
It's hard to judge physicality and speed, and power. You know what I mean? And when you think you've got it, you get surprised. And so yeah, that's the fun, isn't it? The fun is trying to guess what's going to happen, what we're going to do, and what works for us. Right? So,
And guessing Arsenal's transfer window is it's a lottery, is what it is. You think they're going to do one thing and they do another. I really didn't think we'd spend £50 million on a centre back last summer, and we did that. I remember we were chatting away about midfielders and forwards, and that obviously it didn't really happen last summer. Obviously, Martin Odegaard was the most offensive player that we brought in. This summer's been very different. And before
yeah.
we go on to everyone's favourite topics of who we might sign, it's the first opportunity I've had to sit down with you and discuss Gabriel Jesus and Marquinhos and Matt Turner. And Fabio Vieira as well. He's probably the most
Mm.
curious one. We don't know as much about him. We know Jesus. We watched him every week play for Man City and boss so many games. And I love using your phrase that you use to describe him, which is that he fits like a glove into kind of
Yeah.
the Arsenal system and what Arteta wants. But I'm curious to those thoughts on those, but in particular Fabio Vieira as well, from what you've seen of him.
Well, I've only seen what everyone else has seen, which is
Mm.
every single clip available, under 21s and the first
Mm.
team games, and he looks really intelligent. And for me, you try to pair things up, right? You got Marcelli and Smith around the left, you got Jesus and Eddie down the middle, and for me, you've got Odegaard and Vieira slightly to the right. Now you could say, why are you spending that money on somebody who's going to back up Odegaard? And there we
Mm-hmm.
go. We go into the debate. But what he has and what Odegaard has is a level of intelligence. When you watch them, they look smart. They do the smart thing. You're watching the screen, you think, mate, if you turn that way and pass it there, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Easy for us to see when sitting in, up in the upper tier looking down. It's easy for us to see the moves. They've got to see it with the boots flying around them. And those type of players tend to do that really well. His quality into the box is really good with both feet, real good quality. I think a lot of the transfer strategies around build up and around retention and lifting the technical level. And I think that's going to be our identity, a technically efficient team that uses the ball well. And then we can sort of push things forward a bit. And and really be a bit more attacking in the 8 and be more attacking in the 8/10. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
My worry though, Tom, is not enough sprinters on the outside of the pitch, mate, at the moment. Not enough sprinters being linked, So we'll get to that. But I think on the interior side of things, the technical level needs to be raised. And once it is, I think we'll see our forwards get the ball as they want it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you look at the team before the summer, really the only creative 10, and I don't really put necessarily Smith Rowe in the same category as Martin Odegaard, say, someone that's going to find those incisive passes, defense splitting balls. Smith Rowe I look at being so much more direct on the ball than Odegaard, who's more of your orchestrator and your puppeteer, if you like, of the forward line.
What do you think of Smith Rowe? Where do you think he is at the moment in his game?
I think he's going to struggle next season, is probably my hot take on him.
What do you think he needs to do? What have you been thinking?
I think that he needs to specialise and understand kind of because at the age of 21, the next season going into 22s and 23s, you either need to be a left wide playmaker or you need to be a 10, and that needs to be kind of established. We've asked him to get goals. He's got goals.
Yep.
He's added that to his game, and he did that really, really well. I think he became so impactful off the bench. But I kind of want him to be better at getting, if he's going to play left, I want him to be better on his left foot, and I want him to get closer to the touchline, and I want him to be better at those kind of cutback passes if he's playing on the left.
Yeah.
Martinelli does that quite well, and I think that's probably why Arteta favours Martinelli, is because he opens up that opportunity for those types of assists, and I'm not sure Smith Rowe necessarily is as close to Martinelli in that regard. He liked him for being direct and getting into the box with the ball and being a threat from around the box as well, but I think actually he needs to add a little bit more creativity to his game. What do you think? What are you alluding to?
Yeah, I've been. You connect to players in different ways, don't you? Sometimes you see one player, oh my god, I love that player, I love it. I can see exactly what he is, and you can't stop thinking about him. Smith Rowe, although we know about him, I've always found him quite hard to read. Not in a bad way, just like, okay, what are you exactly? Right? So I've debated myself. Is he an interior, is he an exterior player? But number one thing is, when he plays well, we play really well. That's for sure. And he plays well in bursts. So my message to him would be, just get more touches. Get more touches. Don't be a peripheral. Don't allow the game to go past you. When you get a touch, be really positive. I thought it's quite interesting that he played the last game for the 21s on June the 13th. Yet he was back before all the other internationals were back. And I thought to myself, is that one or two reasons? We discussed on the podcast the other day. Is it because he's really sees competition, he wants to get back in shape and get back early? Or is it because there's an SNC program, strength and conditioning program, where they want him back at the club, working hard, getting fit, getting more robust? Because we lose him, don't we? He either doesn't start a game, doesn't finish a game. Do you see what I mean? And I think we need more domination from him. And because of that, our eyes go towards Martinelli and his natural, bustling, sprinty physicality. We say, I can see that. I can see that exactly what he's doing. Well, mate, he hasn't scored since Watford, really, which was a long time ago. Yeah. And so although one transmits wonderful things to your eye with effort and sprinting, and he's had some good games in between there. But one, struggling with his body, puts the ball in the back of the net. I think it's an interesting dynamic, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fit and when we use them, home versus away, 5 subs, etc. But my eyes are on him, mate. My eyes are on him.
He scored against Chelsea, didn't he?
Smith Rowe did, did he?
Yeah. It was Smith Rowe and 2 from Paqueta, but that it was one of those goals. Yeah, he does, and that was the thing from last season, was that we had Odegaard, we had Martinelli, we had Saka, we had Smith Rowe, these 4 great young players, but none of them were scoring really. Saka in particular, that was the big thing for him, was adding more goals to his game, because I think actually he was kind of playing. He was standing out for England as kind of the standout right winger, because England don't really have another out-and-out right winger. Bowen's obviously done very well for West Ham on the right, but I think isn't Saka by any shadow of a doubt. No. So I think that with Saka last season, you saw him take his game to a next level. Whilst Smith Rowe added goals, I don't necessarily think he took the leap that Saka took last season, despite his numbers looking impressive. I think there wasn't that leap forwards that Saka took. I think Martinelli is a bit of a coiled spring and is just kind of awaiting real faith being put in him in a Premier League sense of being Arsenal's left winger. And I think that the addition of Jesus is really going to, knit all of this together as a forward, and that's what I'm excited about.
I think with Smith Rowe, he was hot, very hot, and when he went to England, I think they played like San Marino, whoever it was, and he played those, scored, and then came back, and then I think he picked up an injury. I remember right at the end, and we lost him. Just like that. Those international breaks killed us last year. They really did kill us, and we lost him. So I'm not rushing to judgment because we can all see his talent. But like anything, when you get better players and more of them, we all go, I wonder how he's going to get on. How's he going to do? And who's going to play here? Who's going to play there? I think with the level of education for all of us next year, that with 5 sub rule, for example, we may have to flick away from our first 11 mentality. Do you know what I mean? And start judging the team in the currency of minutes and how many minutes they play. Starters and finishers, who ends games, who starts games, what style of football do we want at the start of a game versus what style of football we want at the end of the game. And Smith Rowe and Martinelli offer a variation, didn't they? A technical and a physical variation, a controlling variation. And so I think it's going to be not just those two, but other players. It's going to be so interesting to see how we rotate and how we tactically approach games with the new 5 sub rule.
Speaking of rotation, let's get into the meat and gravy of kind of the transfer window and what we might expect. And I do want to start with this attacking midfield scenario. We've touched on Fabio Vieira briefly, and he's obviously joined that group that we've just mentioned with Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka, and Marquinhos, of course, coming into things which, with his senior number that he's been given and the appearance he's being given and the fact he's on the tour, kind of signals to me there's a bit of a Martinelli pathway being built for him as well, that maybe we weren't as expectant of when he was first being mentioned as a signing. But the Lucas Paqueta link is where I'm going to start. I know, and I think I'm right in saying, and correct me if you're wrong, but you have your doubts over the legitimacy of this through possible agent stuff. But let's get that bit out of the way. How real do you think these links are?
Well, when the rumour first came up, I thought, okay, they're trying to flush out Newcastle because your mate Bruno's at Newcastle, they was at Lyon. I sort of dismissed it a little bit in my head. And I'm trying to preach to anyone that listens to me, don't get overexcited about certain players because they're only going to let you down. But I felt like everybody else, right? So I really wanted Rafinha. Because I like the idea of it, another Brazilian in the group. And it felt really good. I love his penetration and how he drives at goal and shoots. And I really like the idea of that, to have Jesus, Rafinha, and Saka in the front line. Oh, crikey, I was getting very excited, But of course, it was never really on. It was always Barcelona, right? So, and again, your mate, was it? I call him Savic. Come on, mate.
Milinkovic Savic, yeah.
Thank you. I didn't want to get excited about him because where the rumors come from. Learn that from you.
When that dropped and you text me on that day, I was like, mate, don't get your
I didn't. Because I learned that from you, and I know that Italian rumors not to be believed in. So I stay cool on that one. But Paqueta is different, and it's the sort of player that when you like people, Tom, you can't help it. You and Slobosai, for example. You just can't help it, right? So, and I liked him. I liked his strut. And I always thought he was a forward, a right winger, forward type player. And I thought maybe that's the. Originally, I thought that's the Rafinha takeout. We're gonna go here. He can play false 9. He can post up. We can maybe flick Jesus to the right. I'm thinking, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But don't get excited. But then you start watching him, and again, where I've started this conversation off about raising our technical level, he has his technique, his ability to. I know he gives the ball away. I know his numbers say that.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
When you watch him, his ability to keep the ball under pressure when it counts, his passing ability is really, really good. His arrogance on the ball demands attention. Right? He doesn't attract people as if to say, I'm not sure if I can control this, so I'm going to go and trigger and press him. because you press him, you're in a bit of trouble if he gets it through you, right? So, and if you look at our right hand side with Tomiyasu, Odegaard, Vieira, depends what happens, and Saka, I don't think any of us have got any issues there on that right hand side. On the left hand side, however, we've got some development room, right? And some of that's stylistic and some of that's technical, right? So Tierney, stylistically, does he fit if he's inverted? Does he fit? Not sure. Xhaka, we know what a great soldier he is. Technically, does he fit? Can he look after the ball? If we invert a fullback behind him, he's playing higher up. Does he have the skill sets? And we just spoke about Martelli and Smith Rowe, who I think will develop on, because they're both 21, 20. No drama there. In a year's time, we'll be buying their shirts and
I did. I've got Martinelli's shirt this season.
So we must remember how young they actually are. And they're learning the game. But that 8 position and how we link into that little triangle on that left hand side, I think is the big development for this team. It really is. And sometimes, and I'm not against Xhaka, by the way, I think he's a fine player, fine professional. He's absolutely fine. But sometimes you need to move on. And if we were to spend in that position, I think we could find another level of entry into the final third, bit more build-up quality, a bit more technical ability to drive and shoot, to carry, to pressure with agility. As soon as it comes out of Xhaka's circumference, he's lost. Right, he's lost. And so agility for lateral movement's not there. And I think there's a real big improvement there. So, when we watched Jesus at the weekend, or last week, as soon as you saw him, I don't know if you watched the game, I did.
I was doing the minute by minute. It was chaotic.
So the description I used was, it's like cleaning your windows and suddenly you didn't realize how dirty they were. And you look outside and everything's clear.
Yeah.
When you see a centre forward, there you go. Someone who can,
what they do.
They can keep it, they can move it, they can carry, they can dummy, they can have primary and secondary movements in the box. They flash across front post. They don't stand on the penalty spot blowing out their backside. They can literally flash one movement, then go the other side. I mean, it was just so it was so enlightening, and
it was arousing. That's what it was.
and you're trying to hold back. You're trying to say to yourself, it's just a friendly. He's just a friendly. But nah, he's forget the opposition. Just look at what he was doing. And how he was doing it. The intensity by which he was doing it at. I mean, it was amazing, mate, wasn't it? And like we're fans and we're like weirdos, right? We're junkies for it, right? So but I tell you now, the reaction of the other players when he came on, their performance lifted immeasurably.
Ketia was night and day from first to second half.
They just said, I'm not having it. They just said, we need to get to his level real quick. And that is the benefit of bringing good players in. Good players make you lift. You know what I mean? Like anybody now has got a job. And you work in a team or a group or an office or wherever you're working. You work with bad people, you do what they do, just enough. You work with good people, I'll tell you what you do, you better get good. Better get good, right? And I think we saw a bit of that at the weekend.
Yeah, equally different than chat says Ainsley Maitland-Niles noticeably stepped up his performance in the second half before he came off. I thought, as well.
Well, I know your channel like him, and you know my thoughts on him. I get angry. He's almost like he's my son, and I get angry at the missed opportunity.
Yeah, I know exactly how you mean. There's been so many players that are like that. At Arsenal over the past that we have allowed to just pass us, but just not us, but the players in particular, like them themselves, just haven't been willing. And Maitland-Niles is the antithesis of that example.
So frustrating. Do you remember when Theo Walcott thought he was a centre forward? When really the best way to score goals was to play in the half space, and he's out to win runs but unstoppable. Right, so he stood at centre forward, stood on centre half's toes, and barely touched the ball. You sometimes let people let people put you in position. Just play the game.
Yeah.
Arteta said to Ainsley at one point, and I'm going to paraphrase here, he said he needs to embrace his gift, and his gift is versatility. And he didn't embrace it. I mean, he can literally play, we talk about inverted fullbacks, he can play both side inverted fullbacks. He played in the cup final as an inverted wing back and kept Saka on the bench.
Bossed it.
Got picked for England as an inverted left-sided fullback. But he decided, you know what, I fancy going at West Brom. I mean, and jog about in centre midfield. It's incredible.
It's like, players obviously have a mindset of what they believe is their best. We've all done it when we were younger. You go into the team and you're like, I want to play striker because it's the most exciting position, scoring the goals and the glory and stuff. And at the end of the day, I make the comparison with Brook Norton-Cuffin. I don't know if you watched his interview with the Beautiful Game podcast, but if anyone listening hasn't watched it, I absolutely recommend that you go and do, because he used to be in a front three with Keon Edwards, who's obviously our young guy coming through, and one other player as well. And he said basically between him, Edwards, and this other guy, who I also think is Arsenal still. I can't remember his name though. They got like 100 goals between them in under 12s together as a front three, but. He's gradually moved backwards. Now he's a right back and he's playing that position, but he said he loves it. Like he absolutely thrives on it. He takes one-on-ones as personally going forwards as he does defending. And you can just see the attitude of this guy. He's got that attitude of a player that's going to make it, is going to make it into professional football. And Maitland-Niles was just too blinkered about what he wanted, which was to play in midfield. And if you're going to make it at the top level and really succeed, then you need to listen to the people around you that are telling you where you fit best. And he didn't. Sorry, do you want to close off that section?
Yeah, it's just a shame really, because we all like him, and there's a group of young players that come through the club's academy, and I personally hey look, you can't win them all, right? And there are times where we've been unfair to him as well. I think we've misused him, not communicated to him appropriately. But there's a moment you got to look at the strategy of the manager, the tactical blueprint that he has, and realize that you've got the skill sets for it. And just play, and I don't like, it's not my money, right? I know you like that phrase, not my money, but the fact we're popping off to Southampton to steal their right back and pay him when he's a free transfer ahead of time, and then basically watch a young academy kid who's better defensively, better going forward, can play both sides, can really play both sides, not kick it in the car park. Right, it can really play both sides, and he can't get his head straight, or we can't connect with him, and it's a shame. But not over yet. He's in America, right? Let's see. You never know.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I was saying earlier, I think this is, a lot of people were looking at that and going, why are the youth not going? Well, it's a shop window, is pre-season. It's not only for preparedness and readiness and fitness and experimentation, it's a shop window, and Arsenal will be aware of that. Absolutely. Maitland-Niles is quite a nice segue, actually, because the other two areas are midfield and fullback. The other midfielder is Yuri Tielemans, whose house has been up for sale now, and Arsenal's private investigators online are looking into that. And, honestly, what this fan base is capable of on social media is crazy. Incredible. I don't like speculating too much, and I do always tell people when I think it's appropriate to take things with a pinch of salt. But as signals go, it's pretty darn big of a signal. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on him?
So Paqueta's sort of my forbidden fruit, right? I really like the player, but
you have a lot of those. You have a tree of those.
I do have a few. I like people like him. I did like Kulusevski, for example.
Yeah,
similar in style, stand-up player, technical, can pin people back, receive the ball to feet, turn around, and create. I think Paqueta's better than Kulusevski. I think he's more versatile. He'd be fantastic. So he's my forbidden fruit. Tielemans is just a sensible, just get it done. Get it done. I know he plays right 8 a lot, but he has got the personality. He has got the drive. It just seems to me really quite obvious. We have a lot of left footers, so we're going to play this inverted game where you can come inside and invert. I think Tielemans is perfect for that.
Yeah,
I watched one of the games in the Nations League where he's man of the match. I can't remember who's against now. Sorry. but he was
scored,
brilliant.
didn't he?
He scored. He was
Yeah.
MOM, and I watched it closely, and he was playing a little bit more from the left arm, and that was it for me. Once I saw that, I thought, done. You're it. The price 25 mil, probably 25 plus 5. Make it 30 mil, keep everybody happy. Last year of his contract, he's at the right age, 25. He's at the right stage in his career, ready for the move, ready for the shiny move where the light is on you all the time. And I've got a really good feeling for it. Whereas I really like Paqueta, I like how he looks, but I know Tielemans can do it. We've all sat and watched him run through Chelsea's midfield and score the winning goal in an FA Cup final from 25 yards. We know he can do it. We know his levels. We know he's a £60 million player a year or so ago when his contract was in a healthier position. So we can get him for half price. For me, sometimes don't get exotic. Just do what's obvious. Jesus was obvious. Tielemans is obvious. We get more from that type of player in that one-up position from being a 6. Sorry, from being a Xhaka who's a 6'8". This guy's a true 8. But he's also played a bit of time at 6 this year because indeed he's been a bit injured. So we know he can play 6 as well if we need to, with a little bit more personality and agility. So for me, mate, sometimes don't overthink it. It's just staring you in the face, right? And
I don't know why I've gone out of focus, by the way. I'm looking at Flurry. That's what he said. There we go.
That's better. But sometimes don't overthink it. Just do it. Just do it. And when they come in and you get when Jesus is a lesson, isn't he? He's come in. There's no adaptation time.
Yeah.
None of that rubbish. He's just like, I'm here. Give me the ball. So that's what I want to see. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong from buying within the league quality players that we know who they are. We haven't always got to go exotic and wait 6 months for them to settle in. And then while we're doing that another season, 5th, 6th, 8th, let's just get the lad in, get him in and see what he can do.
And for the prices available, I say I can't get my head around it. I get because clearly there's this player that Arsenal are looking at in midfield. Whether that's Paqueta or not, I don't know because they play different positions of the different players. But if Arsenal have got a budget for an area and they're looking at Paqueta more so, it doesn't make sense to me that they would go for the only way I can really get my head around the idea of choosing Paqueta over, say, Tielemans is because Arteta's got this obsession with trying to copy the Man City model of having so many different attacking options, and he just sees adding a Paqueta as more important than a Tielemans, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I look at Tielemans. I say, okay, I know you can do a certain job. I know you can use early passes. You can see it both sides. You can turn around. You can bang in shots, sweeping crosses. You've got the personality to play in the Premier League. Done. Tick. With Paqueta, I think his talent is probably higher. I think he looks more spectacular. But can he do it? Can he really do it? So I don't look at him and think Man City, because actually I've sort of misread him initially. I didn't realise that he really has done well as a left centre mid. Really has done well in recent times, where he was much more offensive in the early stages of his career. So if Arteta fancies him, I'm all in because I love it. But the sensible thing to me, with my sort of pragmatic head on, is to go for Tielemans. But I wouldn't cry if we went for one or the other. I wouldn't cry at all. I'd be ecstatic because they're both quality.
The other area is fullback, and I say it's not necessarily just fullback because the player that we were linked with for most of the beginning of the window was Lisandro Martinez, who could play centre back and left back and defensive midfield. So they clearly enjoyed the fact that he was versatile. In my mind, they saw him as kind of the left-sided Tomiyasu. That if we lost Tomiyasu, that we could play Martinez and have Cedric as a more offensive-minded fullback, or a Bruno and Cuffy if you wanted to go that far, and you wouldn't necessarily lose the balance of the team that we did lose when we didn't have Tomiyasu, even though Tierney did a job playing the more reserved role while Cedric was in. But then when we lost Tierney as well, it just fell apart defensively. But they're now looking, if reports are to be believed from Portugal, Alex Grimaldo, who is €7 million, £5.9 million, very, very cheap, very different from Martinez. I've done some research on him today. I've got a piece going out on him tomorrow morning, focusing on the 16 different statistical areas that he ousted Kieran Tierney last season. in both attack and defense. So there's misconceptions about him, I think. And there's like, whenever you mention, you put Grimaldo out on Twitter, the immediate response is bad defensively, can't defend, not good, not good in that direction. And from looking at him more now and looking into his numbers and some clips, I think it's unfair to broadly label him as a bad defender, because I think that he has lots of parts of his game that are better than Tierney defensively. And I know Tierney's not like the poster boy of a defensive left back, but Grimaldo has more than what people are giving him credit for. So what do you think of him?
Right, so I've done my highlight clips watching, and when I look at players that play on the outside of your team, I don't like to see vulnerability, right? So I see in my mind, I see your fullbacks as almost like stabilizers. So think back to last year when we felt slightly we were on unstable ground. When our first choice fullbacks weren't there, we felt unstable.
Yeah,
Tomiyasu is our stability rod, basically.
Yeah, linchpin.
And everything links around him, because we can do what we like on our left side if he's there on the right hand side. So to lose him was a blow. I think it highlighted the stylish issues on the left hand side. People that didn't really want to be there but were forced to be there deep and asked to do deep build up. Right. So the issue with Nuno for me is when he's in his own half, being asked to build up play. When he's in the opposition half, not much to teach him apart from can you keep the ball in the stadium on your right foot shot, right? It's not much to teach him because he drives so quickly. On his left foot, his crossing is not bad. On the right foot, he gets excited. He's 21. We can fix that, right? So the fact he's 2-footed, tick, right? So I'm not so down on Nuno as other people are.
Agreed.
But I look at Grimaldo and I say, do you stop people attacking you? Do you stop people picking on you? And I don't see that.
No.
I think he gets under people. So what he does when you're a bit smaller, he's 5'7", right? So when you're a bit smaller, what you do when you're a little bit physically challenged, your positional sense has to be top. You don't want people to run at you because they can just push you over, bowl you over. Once they get a run on you, you're in trouble. So what he does, his distances are really, really good. So he gets under you really quickly. So he is a little bit of a transition defender. So he tackles you when you steals your money.
Yeah, he pressures really well.
Yeah, pressures well, nicks it, and then his use of the ball is excellent. So could he play as an inverted fullback? Probably. In an ideal world, when we have our pictures, we got our 2-3-5 and we're killing people. It all looks great, and we get our pass maps out. In the real world, the opposition wants to do a bit and ping you into that corner and run people at you like Callum Wilson. What's going to happen to you? You'll be in the ground eating grass, And I think we have to think about the darker days, not just the sunny days at the Emirates. We're popping it around when we're assessing these players. So I'm not sure what problem he's going to fix for us. Does he give us stability, or does he just give us deep line build up and quality on the ball? Now, if he's got that, fine, I'll live with it. But one play, is he a slightly not as good? That's not good English. A slightly not as good Zinchenko, right? Who is an inverted.
I'd rather Zinchenko.
He's done it in the league. He knows the system. He knows the zone which to stand. When he's on the outside, he's a bit sharper. When he stands in the Xhaka position, inverted, his distribution and build-up play is perfect. When he goes on the outside, he puts in killer crosses. Again, back to the Tielemans discussions, we know he can do it. At some point in this project, we need to have less projects. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to sometimes say, we need to get the guy we know who can do it. We've got a few projects going on here, and we're happy to have them. And we got more coming from the academy. But do we need to buy another one?
No.
And I think that's where I am with it at the moment, Tom, because I remember how I felt after those Newcastle and Spurs games, as much as your listeners and viewers do. And I haven't forgotten. And I made a vow to myself not to get too excited about too many projects. And how about just getting the guys who can do the business? Because it's time to put that lot across the road. And Chelsea, it's time to do it.
Yeah.
It's enough time has passed now. It's time to execute and do it. Some of that's tactical. Some of that's with the manager. Some of that's going to be with better forwards. But some of that is with making sure we do the right recruitment. You know, don't. I read something today, maybe even on your channel. If you buy cheap, you buy twice. Right. So that's in the back of my mind.
It's really strong phrasing because obviously, you know, if you are, whilst Grimaldo is cheap, he won't solve what Arteta wanted from Martinez. You know, he doesn't give you that. And whilst I think maybe he's too harshly criticised for what he doesn't give, which is, if you say he's bad defensively, you know, I don't think that's accurate. Because as we've just discussed, you know, pressures are great, space management is really good, positional awareness is good. It's just, you are limited as a 5'7" fullback, and you are limited with what you're able to do. And whilst Martinez is a short guy, you know, he has muscle and aggression, and he's an animal. Hence why he's called the Butcher. And Grimaldo's not that. So
no, he's not. And you know what? And again, little message to myself. I always say, okay, can he stop Salah? Can he stop that guy coming at him? No. You know, can he stop Kulusevski? You know, can he stop Sterling? Right. This is what we've got to judge ourselves by. Right. Can he stop Sancho? Probably. Can he stop Sancho? But these are enemies, right? And they're gonna pick on him. Can he stop those guys? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable with him winning those battles?
Now, do you feel comfortable with Tierney winning those battles? Because I'd argue I'm not 100% confident of him winning those battles.
I think we were talking the other day on the podcast about the definition of physicality. And we concluded that one of the things that you have is physicality, not just muscle power, although we do think that spinal positions, you do need a level of power, like Gabriel, for example, you know, and seeing Sambi grow and get stronger, Patino grow and get stronger. It's not a bad thing, right? So you need that level of physicality and power, but not too much because you've got to carry it around. But the real trick for these elite players is repeat sprinting. And that is the trick. That's what separates them from us normal human beings. They can do repeat sprints a million times more than we can, right? So I look at Tierney and I think sometimes, to me, he always looks fatigued. You know, if you spend a lot of time in his zone, I think he can look a little bit fatigued. Now, I don't critique him. I'm not one of these people that's sitting there quietly waiting for him to just blow up. He's got a contract till 26, and he's a fine player. 25 mil, fine player. I think for him, it's all about his physical shape. I think technically he can learn anything. I think when he's top and he's fit and he's not tired and not playing stupid friendlies for Scotland, he's able to do most things for us in a good way. And I think another thing sometimes, Tom, I always remember this again, there's a crowd watching these players. And what they transmit to us is very important. And he transmits a level of care. He cares about the team. He cares about defense. He cares about standards. And I like that. I spent too many years watching faceless players who cared about the cash point and the check and the numbers when they put their card in and what that number was going to say, more than they cared about the team, the club, and the fans. There's been a huge connection change at Arsenal, and people like Tierney has been part of that. So although I have a concern about the amount of games he's played, we all know the percentage, or the amount of games he's missed, and the fact that we've had 2 years now where we've been derailed by a left-back problem. We need to manage that better. Now, do we develop a number? Do we buy, or do we develop? And I'm not sure. But if we were going to get a Martinez to play that role, fine. But then we're choosing to develop Nuno somewhere else. And there's a queue of people waiting for him because they can see he's not a dud. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a challenge. What's his space in that position, mate? I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, neither am I. Before we go to the chat box and some questions, there's one other thing. And if you have got a question, by the way, guys, now's the time to start throwing them in. Use the capital Q. It really does help them stand out. And drop a like on the video as well. It really does help us out. And subscribe to the channel. You can follow Clive on Twitter at ClivePAFC. You can follow myself.
Your lot must know me by now, crikey.
Surely, but there'll be some that don't. So it's always worth saying it. The last question is regarding the last time we spoke, I think one-on-one for a scheduled show, not when you hop on the morning shows randomly. But we had a long chat about wide forwards and strikers, because this was meant to be the summer that Arsenal would obviously overhaul their forward line, in particular the striker position. But we both agreed that a wide forward, a rangy wide forward with power that could also deputise in the middle and that versatility was key. If Arsenal end the summer window and Gabriel Jesus and a renewal of Eddie Nketiah, and let's add Lucas Paqueta to the scenario because he looks the most likely other attacking-minded player that we would sign. At a 10, where 10 is your perfect expectation of the summer, where do you put the business that's been used to tackle that attacking line?
So we're in the project phase again, aren't we? Because we're looking at Marquinhos. We're thinking he came on and looked okay. I'm a huge fan of preseason, and I shall be going to the Emirates Cup, by the way. I'm a huge fan of preseason because for people like Marquinhos, he's literally going to decide where he spends his football next year. Is he going to go on loan? Is he going to? He's better than the 23s. He's better than that, and he has a presence on the pitch, which is really interesting. So if he can show that presence in the group, he's got a chance, because we need something else on the right hand side. We do. I felt, when we spoke months ago, I did like Cody Gakpo. I had a look at him in the Leicester games and felt he needed a step club. You know what I mean by that? He needed Palace or Brighton. Leeds, yeah, exactly. He needed a step club, but he's close, but he's not quite there. And he's more a lefty stroke centre. We need a righty stroke centre, or an inverted player. That's what we need, a right-sider, a stick-on right-sider. Now, I say this without really understanding how we're going to use Fabio Vieira, who is more mobile and active than Odegaard. What Vieira has over Odegaard, I think he's more direct. And he runs around people. He overlaps and underlaps, right? If you notice Odegaard, he's a setter. He sits off. He plays and he sits off and he waits to get it. He doesn't run past people, doesn't run through. And I think that penetration Vieira will give that. So we're interested to see how we use him. And then are we going to say, you know what, we're okay in that right pod, that right zone, because with Vieira, with Marquinhos, and with Saka, and with Odegaard, we've got enough. We got enough. And this is why I think the Paqueta or Tielemans thing almost fixes things a little bit. It fixes a few positions. They're multi-positional. Tielemans can play both sides and he can play 6. Paqueta can play left 8, right 8, false 9, right wing. There's a lot to like there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think that's almost the way to go. Versatility gets you squad depth, rather than having too many players you can't keep happy. I think so. That's why I mean, either one doesn't worry me. Although, if you ask me honestly, Tom, I would have liked another sprinter to play on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
But let's look and see what Marquinhos can offer. Because if between Marquinhos and Vieira, they may be able to offer enough.
Maybe Nelson.
Maybe they'll offer enough to get Saka to get his flip-flops on every now and again. Because crikey, that kid's been carrying
needs a rest, doesn't he?
Nelson, I'm not there on Nelson, mate. Just to upset people who are there on Nelson.
There's a lot that really do like him. A lot that really like him.
I tell you what it is with him. He needs to find a game and a league where he expresses himself. I watch it. We all watch him in the first team a couple of times, but watch him in Holland. He's doing quite well. I think he feels quite comfortable there. I watched him play on a 23 game when he came back to Arsenal against Chelsea, and I watched him play. And Tom, I'm telling you, it wasn't too long ago. It was like watching Neymar. He was just incredible, by far the best player on the pitch. And I thought that's what you're like when you're fully confident. He wasn't running 5 yards, shuffle, 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 knocking it square. He was knocking it, driving, shooting, both feet, taking free kicks, taking throw-ins to himself, doing everything, and there is something there, but I'm just not sure it's going to come out in the Arsenal first team, and sometimes you just need to let someone fly away and find their career. He needs to play. He can't be under 23s anymore, and he can't be carrying the water bottles anymore. It's time to play for him.
We might need a first option or something like that if we let him go, something like that on a potential deal, because you can tell there's a player there. There's something there. It's just, as you say, I don't think it's coming out at Arsenal. Let's jump into the chat box for the last 10 or so minutes of the show and tackle some questions from you guys. Ali, who mentions another wide forward, says, I wish Arsenal went after Moussa Diaby by Leverkusen. What are your thoughts on him? I don't think he'll cost much more than what we were willing to pay for Rafinha, and he's got great numbers on both flanks.
Yeah, he's sharp, isn't he? He's not slow. He's very quick. He's very quick. Yeah, I can always see it. I don't know, mate. Sometimes when offensive players come from Germany, I just have a little worry sometimes, I'm not saying it's a slow league or anything like that, but I just have a little worry. I've seen him play. He played for France, but he's just very quick. I think the numbers are just too big for me to make me think you're going to change my life. I just feel that they are just they're looking to move. They parked him. They got him there. He's playing he's in the France squad. He's right there. They're looking for someone from the Premier League to come along and just give them 65 mil. And why? It's not enough for me yet. Not proved enough. But yeah, very promising. Very, very quick. But I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not feeling that one, mate, to be honest.
It's interesting. I like the guy. If you told me that he was coming in this summer, I would have been quite happy about that. I think he offers goals and he's creative, versatile. The issue with him is that he doesn't give you anything in the middle, which has always been kind of one of my things about a wide player. Is I wanted to see them be able to be versatile enough to give you something in the middle, which is why I liked Cody Gakpo, because he offered that. Pedro Gonçalves at Sporting is the other one for me. That I like a lot. Kuhl Triangle says, why did we bring Torreira, Marie, Runarsson, Nelson, Ainsley, Nuno, Bellerin and Balogun to pre-season instead of the academy boys? Aren't they all just going to leave on loan or for good?
Yeah, this is interesting. And I haven't had a chance to look around and see what under 23 friendlies are going on and if there are other commitments.
Playing tonight, actually.
Are they?
Playing Hereford, I think, tonight. Yeah, the under 21s or under 18s. Yeah.
So I haven't seen if there's any commitments that they want these young players to be here for. There's a new management in the under 23s, under 18s. Obviously, we saw that this week. I'm trying to work it out because to me, mate, Arsenal are not stupid, but this looks stupid. But they don't want to ostracize people. But this doesn't feel right to me. And
how you can pick Runarsson over Patino like that? I can't wrap my head around that.
So Patino. So you watched the game the other day, right? So we can all see we can all see the transformation in him. I promise you, those people who haven't seen that game need to go and look at what these kids is doing with the ball, how he's receiving it, how he's keeping it on his safe side. His passing has information all over it. He's going to be a player. Now, I just cannot see why he's not on that plane. This has got an injury. I can't see it. I sort of live in an area where he was at an academy. And so I have seen him from a very, very young age. So I knew all about the hype. I knew before he signed for us what was going to happen. And in a lot of my because I realize now I've got a few people that follow me, I've tried to keep my mouth shut about him because it adds to the hype, and but it's very hard. It's very hard to keep your mouth shut. And even the other day I sort of played it down a little bit, but I found it hard to play it down what we could have, and I just think it's a wrong move. I honestly think it's a wrong move without knowing all the detail behind it. It looks wrong to me. It doesn't feel quite right. The academy has been such a big part of what we're doing, be part of this project, be part of our identity, one of our key pillars in our identity. And we brought one academy kid. Now, maybe it's going to be a bit more of a commercial trip. Maybe it's going to be something they can't really benefit from physically. That's why they want the senior pros to be more involved. I'm trying to think of reasons to make it make sense.
The sales part is what I'm trying to reason, is that they're using it as a shop window.
Yeah, potentially shop window, commercial. But are they going to look at these kids and say, we're gonna prepare you back up base for the season ahead, really put you through some training and give you some exposure in your level? I'm trying to make it make sense to myself, Tom. I'm saying that I don't really believe it. I think there's a mistake there.
Yeah.
Buzzing for Rule Walters. I think he's an excellent player. I said on the podcast the other day that I think, although Brooke Norton-Cuffy is also an excellent player, I tell you now, Rule Walters is the one that's going to go further, in my opinion.
Really? Wow, that's a cool.
And I said it.
All right, I'll go on the opposite
hold me on it
to that, and we'll go
hold me on it.
Hold
me on it. I watched it doesn't matter, they're both great players. I don't want to they're both great players. We're very lucky to have them. But Rule Walters, mate, you heard it here. Watch this space.
He's got a great story, Rule Walters.
Yeah, he has.
Really good story. If you're not aware of it, people go and do some research. Football London actually did a piece on it. I didn't do it, but someone did it.
Okay, I need to. I did hear he was at Spurs, wasn't he? He was at Spurs.
Yeah, he also had a trial at Man United, and then actually took a break from football.
That's the bit I learned the last couple of days, which I didn't know. I know he's in the England track. He's been in England youth track for a long time. And that's when I first heard about him a couple of years ago. I thought, it's interesting. I know they do a little spread on the website sometimes about a player.
Yeah.
And I thought, interesting they picked on him. Mate, he must be so excited right now.
Can you imagine being on that plane? The only one more excited than him is Frimpong, who's on the plane.
He's done absolutely great.
Great, isn't it?
I'm so pleased for him. What a brilliant young man he is.
Yeah,
brilliant young man.
We've got a couple more we can take. Let's go to Sophie. Thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciative. Says, how about Sergino Dest, Clive? Does Dest? I've told Sophie that you're not the biggest fan of Dest because
mate, one little sneeze and he falls over. He's not good enough for me. I don't know how he's ended up at Barcelona. I really did. I hope Sophie's listening. I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. I don't see it at all. But hey, if you were to buy it, I've got to shut right up if you buy it.
Let's go to Russ, who says, do you think there's any way back for Torreira? There's a lot of talk about it. It's interesting he's going on the tour. We heard today from his agent that apparently there's a pre-contract agreement in place with Valencia. Gattuso, of course, was part of Fiorentina and the big reason why he went there. Torreira was, I really thought he was the solution to a lot of our defensive midfield problems when he signed. And I was like, we got the guy. We got our own little Kante that can run about and be a terrier and be two players on the pitch at once. I really thought that when we got him. And then Emery just wrecked him, just absolutely ruined him.
You know what? I think when you do your recruitment, you need to do a bit more into their background, right? And if they can settle, and for me, his problems were off the pitch. I don't think he's a very mature lad. The immaturity he showed around when he was upset and he wanted to go to Boca and he didn't want to play he doesn't want to play in this part of the world, full stop. He doesn't want to be here. Very immature statements coming from him and his agent. And so for me, I forget about his football. It's how he carries himself as an individual, right? And so I think Arsenal said, come back. You're getting your money. Come back. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on, how you feel now. Also, it may be, come back. You're our player. And by the way, your demands you want from these clubs, maybe you need to relax them a little bit because we're in control of you. We own the contract. We're prepared to hold you for another year. So I think it could be a little bit of brinksmanship here. And suddenly, as he jumped on the plane, his agent said, we've got a deal with Valencia, blah, blah, blah. Again, that's immature. It's very immature. You don't control the show. Keep your mouth quiet and see if you can get the best deal for your client, right? So, I think it's one to watch there. I think he's a very immature player. As a player, when we first saw him, he was playing for Uruguay at the base of a diamond. And the way we're sort of playing now with almost false nine, it looks like a bit of a diamond. And you can see him playing at that base or easily. But the way we use that player at the base, that player has to have a really high technical level.
Yeah.
A really high technical level.
An engine.
And the way that the Uruguayans use him, it's almost like a presser and protector of zone 14. And he does that very, very well. Right? Very intense, his tackling. We need a smooth, deep line progressor. And I don't think that's quite him. But hey, there you go.
Let's wait and see. Thank you, Matthew Ryan, for your small donation. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Moss, for joining up as a member during the show as well. I think we've got time for one more quick one, which is going to come from Issa, who says, David Ornstein recently mentioned that Arsenal are interested in Carl Walker-Peters.
Yeah.
Do you think that a new right back would help us?
Smart. Very smart, that. I when I saw that, I sort of semi-punched the air because... Yeah, he's a very good player. A very good player. Again, development is something you just can't read. When he came out at Spurs, no one was crying. He's gone to Southampton and he's done really well. Now, the problem is that Southampton lost Livramento with Cruciate, didn't they? And I think Livramento would have been a good option for Arsenal. A very good option.
They really wanted him as well prior to his injury. That wrecked the interest. Yeah.
That's a player. So Carl Walker-Peters is a really good player. And I think, again, he fits the project. He's young, he's English. There is a group of young English players there. Forget the Spurs thing. The boy can play. He really can play. And he's really improved. His confidence is high. He's not just a run up and downer. He can play on the ball. He can play inside as well. He can play on the left side. And because Livramento's done well, he has played on the left side in the Premier League, and we have seen it. So I'm not against that at all. And he's he played for England this year as well and did well in the game. So I'm not sure what numbers would be though, Tom. Spurs have got a 30 million buyback. So if they've got a buyback of 30 mil, why would Southampton take anything less than that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's going to be a
too heavy
one.
Too heavy.
To finish the show, we start with the question that we started with was just to round off. You don't need to add any flowers to it, but just who do you think we will sign between now and the end of the window?
Well, it's one of. I think Tielemans.
Yeah, so do I.
I think Tielemans. I've heard a few whispers myself, like you have, no doubt. So I think Tielemans.
Been agreed for ages with the player.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
I think Tielemans, but I do like Paqueta. So, but I don't see a super solid link there. But I do like Paqueta. It would be great to get both, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't see both. I'd absolutely take both.
Not without a sale. And what I'm talking about going, right? So
are you talking about a certain Mr. Xhaka, maybe?
Somebody have to go. It doesn't make sense to buy two. That's FIFA stuff.
No,
it doesn't make sense.
It is FIFA stuff, yeah.
We're talking about Patino, and with young players, they can change in 2 weeks, and suddenly they score in a big game, and we're thinking, how can you block that player?
Defender,
so you've got to be smart. See, again, I'm a coach by nature, right? I always think I'm somebody who always wants to save people. I think I can save players, and I look at Nuno and I think I think he can be saved. He can be saved. He can be nurtured. He can be developed, and I don't see the angst. And sometimes I think the analysis of him, I think it's poor. I think it's really poor. I don't think it's smart. People see the last thing and they think, oh, he's rubbish. They don't see his presence. They don't see what he does off the ball. They don't see how he affects the opposition offensively. We just need to make sure the right side is more solid so he can shuffle around and be a bit higher up. Or we need to give him some simple patterns of play with deep ball progression. that he can do, and just try to tell him you don't have to run it out all the time. you can just clip it up the line to Martinelli. It's not the worst thing in the world. You haven't got to run it out. If you get caught, we're going to get done in the transition. This is simple experience stuff. So do we need to go away and learn that somewhere else, or do we do it at Arsenal? So I don't see a problem there. You'll be to see what happens with Rob Holding, though, mate, to see what happens there, because
if I was him, I'd go.
Saliba's come in and he looks like a god, you know. So, and if he turns
he is
up,
for some people.
If he turns up in the dressing room and then they're going to look at him 6'4", takes off his top, they're going to look at him and think, well, I might as well move on then. Do you know what I mean? That's the end of that. That's the end of that. Yeah, I mean, some players have that aura about them, and he's certainly got that aura about him. And and if he has a good game, you got to say, you just ring up your agent and say, I tell you what, can you get me out of here, please? Because
Newcastle, please.
I'm just not going to play. So let's see how he goes. To be honest,
I think Holding is comfortable. I think he's just comfortable. I think he's happy being in the squad. I think he enjoys being at Arsenal. I think he's happy playing here and there. Yeah. He's happy to get the money he's on because he's only recently signed a new deal. I think he's happy.
Good player. Does performs a role. Costs us
great
2 million
to come on
quid.
for a back three.
Yeah, really costs us 2 million quid. There isn't a drama there, is there really? And he's one of the leaders in dressing room. He's one of the captains. So yeah, fair play.
Indeed. Clive, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. And I'm gonna look at the comments now and see if anyone's been slaughtering me. I hope they have.
Only a few for your Tavares saving.
Well, all you Nuno haters, come find me. I'll be ready for it.
It'll find you at the Emirates Cup, that's for sure.
Come find me.
Indeed. I know that the Vision's on a little bit of a sabbatical, I think, while Elliot's away. But tell people where they can, of course, find you and what you're going to be up to, mate.
Yeah, so they can find me in the Emirates at cup level for Sevilla, that's for sure. So yeah. Well, I only do the Arsenal Vision, really, Tom, and the Arsenal Vision podcast. I do that. I think we are doing one tomorrow. So,
nice.
Listen out for that. We do a lot of stuff in the background on Patreon, on a lot of coaching and then a lot of scouting and a lot of stuff like that, which I really enjoy. I'm going through my own preseason right now, so I'm in a good coaching groove. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Lovely stuff. Make sure you do it. You can find Clive on Twitter at ClivePAFC. You can find ourselves at the Gooner Talk TV. Make sure you're subscribed to get more interviews like this. And, of course, daily updates on Arsenal's transfer news. Clive watches, so you should too, is going to become my new motto for the channel. But thank you so much.
I'm a member.
He is. He's a member as well. Yes. Absolute legend.
Got to support. You've got to support people, man.
Thanks,
well,
man.
You do a great job. Keep it going.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. There's just as a teaser, Clive's on, so I can give a teaser. Hopefully, there's some things are going to look different here. Not in terms of personnel, just what you see is going to look different soon.
Cool.
So there's a little teaser. I'm looking forward to what hopefully will be quite a good kickoff to the new season.
Excellent.
Although I am missing the first half of the first game because my best men decided it'd be great to put the stag do on that weekend. So, yeah,
I'm sure you'll find a way. Let's not make it go to Outer Mongolia.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on my honeymoon, I'm only missing one of the games. I say missing. I'm definitely going to find a way to watch it. But yeah,
come on,
Mauritius definitely will have a way to watch it. I'm sure.
Definitely.
See you all soon. Thank you for watching. See you in the morning. And of course, I'll be live at 8 p.m. tonight over on Lee Judge's channel with Dan and the like as well. So do check us out over there too. See you soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.